So, I've recently seen this video by Multiman Comics about the maker's history, and it's got me thinking, if given the chance, how would he change the histories of different shows and comics to make his perfect world? And due to the recent announcement of JJK Season 3, I think Jujutsu Kaisen would be the perfect series to start this off with. Now, you may be thinking, why JJK? And it's all because of this one man, Toji Zenny. This man completely changed the story. If the maker was able to get his hands on him, everything in the story would be different. Oh, and this guy's pretty important too, I guess. But before I get to anything, I need to set some ground rules. Number 1, no killing characters as babies. Number 2, they will be starting before the hidden inventory arc. Last, the maker will have a base understanding of the story. Now, that way I have everything out of the way, let's get started. So, after looking to the story, I've come up with 2 major outcomes we can go in. Point A comes about from the maker just paying off Toji and him going back to being a bum, forgetting his own kid. Doing this has major implications on the story. Let's get the big one out the way. Gojo does not become the honored one, and modern day society loses their greatest asset. And with Gojo out the way, it paves the way for modern Jujutsu society to do whatever they want. Before I go into greater detail about that, I want to get into Gojo's friend. So, due to Riko not encountering her deadly allergy to bullets, Geto doesn't go off the deep end and start hitting monkeys, allowing Geto and the gang to run off. And this is important because Gojo's with him, and you're like, yeah, you already told us Gojo's not the honored one. But without Gojo, every single character dies. This is me getting back to the Jujutsu Society, and this is me getting back there because Gojo was the only thing holding a majority of the characters back from being executed. Nearly every single character you see right now is either going to be killed or experimented on. Hell, there are some characters that aren't here that same thing is going to happen to them. These guys, these 2 in particular, that were on the list. Panda's dead. Maki's probably dead. Nobara, definitely dead. There's no way they're going to let her live. You really think this guy knows what women's rights is? Alright, come on. So, Megumi is probably not going to be executed, but he's probably being groomed into the next Naoya. So, yeah. And these guys are also dead, like I said earlier. Now, you might be thinking, why didn't you say these other guys died? First of all, because I believe they just wouldn't get executed. And for Yuji, he comes into the next part of the video. So before going on to this next section of the video, I gotta talk about Timeline B. This one isn't gonna be as complex as Timeline 1, but it's still important to talk about, at least for me. The second timeline comes about from, instead of the maker paying Toji off and him just going back to doing his own thing, he actually kills him. And this isn't like really just one timeline, it's more like Timeline B then C, but it's basically the same thing. Timeline 1B is what I'm calling it. But this one starts where the maker, instead of paying Toji off, just kills him. And it basically plays out like Timeline A, but Toji is also not there, so it's even better for him. Alright, so Timeline 2B is where this gets really interesting. Because instead of just killing Toji at the start, he kills him after he kills Gojo, allowing him to become the honored one. But because Toji's already dead, Geto doesn't go insane, so you have an honored one Gojo running away with Geto. Doing this will cause a huge host of problems for the maker, because the characters will go from this to this. Well, it isn't guaranteed that the characters would survive, but Gojo becoming the honored one would increase their chances of survival and make sure they don't die. With everything laid out, I believe the maker would go into Timeline 2A. This is because it kills as many important people as possible, and Gojo does become the strongest. And without Gojo, it leaves a certain individual all by himself, which also leads into the second part of this timeline. So, with Geto and Gojo being on the run, it'd be in the Maker's best interest to, instead of going after them because they're so weakened, to go after Sukuna's fingers. And this is where Yuji comes in, because after eating a finger, he becomes a radar for them. So, the best way for the Maker to get his finger detection system, aka Yuji, is kind of just let the events of episode 1 play out. It might not be Megumi who gets the finger because he's the head of the Zenin clan in this timeline, but just send some random sorcerer who is clearly not up for the job to get the finger. And because there's no Gojo, there's no one to stop Sukuna, so the Maker can kind of just step in and bing, bang, boom, you got your finger detection system right there. So at this point, pretty much the entire JJK verse is cooked. With the addition of the finger detector, it won't take long for the Maker to discover the disaster curses and Kenjaku if he does, want to work with him still. And at that point, there's nothing anyone can do. Gojo and Geto are too weak to do anything. They're eventually going to get caught. Most of the main cast is either dead or working for an insane system. And the Maker has free reign to do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. So if you guys liked the video, consider subscribing. If you don't, tell me how I could improve in the comments, because this is the first time I really did anything like this. So yeah, subscribe. Thank you.